for the last 45 years. But back in the day when we finished shooting it on 16 millimeter color negative film, we didn't have any funding to finish it. And so in a way it was a kind of blessings because, as you know, the Kala Chakra is so complex, so deep, and it covers the whole of Buddhism, beginning with Pali, with the earliest stages all the way through Madhyamaka and the Tantra. It's all embodied in this extraordinary initiation and practice, and so and there were lots about it. Although I had done my PhD in Buddhism and was quite familiar with the philosophy and the meditation and various things, I didn't have the kind of interest or capacity to really be interested in Tantra at that stage in my life, to study it or to practice it. So I thought, this is a good sign. I'll just let it rest. And then at some point it'll arise again, and I will be ready to study Tantra in a way that I wasn't ready before, ready to talk with some of the great masters of Tantra and pull this together. And so we were able to go back to the Smithsonian and get the 16 millimeter film digitized. And then that was a few years ago. And then we could do the editing, and then I could do more interviews, for example, with Jeffrey Hopkins and others, to finish the film. And so finally, after 45 years, or 44 years, we were able to finish it. And then to be able to come to a beautiful festival like you're doing is such a great pleasure for me, and it's fun to meet you. And I know we'll have a good conversation. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's a beautiful film and we all enjoyed it. I'm so sorry that you can only see me, but about 30 people or 40 people in the audience, and they're eager to ask questions and to share their reactions with you. So I'll keep my other questions for later on, but I'll just want to give the floor to the audience to share their reactions and their questions with you. So please feel free to share with Dr. Bastian your thoughts and comments and questions.
And I hope I can answer them. I'm not the world's expert on all these things, so I'll just do my best from my own perspective in life, and do my best to answer the questions.
Thank you. So do we have already?
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yes.
They'll just bring the mic to you.
Okay. Everything's okay now, isn't it?
Yes, it's
Beautiful.
perfect. We can hear you great. Yeah.
Good.
So, taking your question further, you asked why it took so long for him to make this movie. My question is, in the footage, we saw a lot of young people, and how difficult or how complex or how he found those people now, 40 years later, to interview them and to make them the part of this movie. So how difficult it was to find all those people now, so many years later.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I got it, yeah. No, I got it. Part of it was not hard because many of the people who were young, and we were talking about former hippies that we had this magical time, right, in Canada and America and in the world, when we actually thought as young people, we could make a change for the better. We could bring love into politics. We could do all these things. We had that belief. And so this film is about that kind of idealism of people coming together from so many places around America. And then later, many of them stayed in Madison, Wisconsin, so they could continue to study with Geshe Soka. So a Buddhist community, as it were, began to develop in Madison. So many of the people that we interviewed lived there, and then we put out the word to others who didn't have to travel too far, came, and then we revisited back to Deer Park Monastery and had wonderful conversations. And then later we did some more interviews with scholars, and that you saw on the film, that were a lot of fun, traveling around to talk with them. And then, finally just putting it all together. And I was lucky to get a wonderful editor, Jen Beeman. And she could look at it. She wasn't Buddhist. She was interested, but she didn't have any predisposition. She said, "We just have to make this film as a film for regular people, not for scholars, not for necessarily being Buddhist already, but just to try to make a film that would be about the people and about their reactions and what they learned and what." So that's what seeing the Dalai Lama as he was at that stage of his life, seeing the young people coming for the initiation, and so yeah, it was just a very friendly kind of atmosphere, bringing everybody back together to reminisce, and that's how it happened.
Thank you. There's another question.
Dr. Bastia, thank you for a great movie. It was kind of a time travel for us to see, what happened 44 years back. And I have two comments, if I may. One is that you talked about the cost, about $75 that would have, so how this huge endeavor ended up having or being realized. How was the finance managed? How did you pull up such a event with no funding? That's one question. And the second thing is that, for us who kind of do not have much knowledge about Buddhism, I thought that it might be better that to make that it's so profound, because when we are explaining, the different initiation or the phases, a little bit of more time. It was too rushed, I found, in terms of what was happening. It was like the preparation was well laid, but the philosophy was kind of too hasty for me. So, before it even sunk in, it was over.
Yeah, thank you for that critique. And I feel a lot the same way. And so one way to look at it is that it's a kind of an intro to get people interested to learn more. Because to do a whole film where you really cover Kala Chakra in any depth would easily take a couple of hours. I mean, that would just be a beginning. So it was like the one things that we were adding then at the end, which hadn't been done before, were the animations of the three-dimensional mandala, five-story mandala, the deities that were necessary for each of the steps of the initiation, so that people got an idea about it, what it was all for, although they couldn't go that deeply into it. So I think there's a good critique, and maybe we'll just have to make another film, to cover that.
That's a good point. There's an applause here.
And about the finance, how do you pull it up, actually?
Yeah, then you guys can take out your pocketbooks and send.
No, I'm talking about, because you were talking about that, that you were not supposed to charge something, something was told
Right.
that, how did you even pull that thing whole up? It was a major event in those days.
It was. Well, as one of a woman who became a nun said in the film, she said, we weren't sure how we were going to do this, but she remembered that maybe somebody's mother helped us.
$20,000.
So it was sort of like gradually, because you know how it is. If you are patient, if you have the intention to do something really good, then you're young and you have that kind of energy, that you become like a magnetic force to pull people in, and they see the beauty of it, they see the opportunity of it, and then they want to be part of it. So a lot of the funding that came from people who were attracted to that and could see the possibilities in it, and we just had to make a film that would echo the meaning, the purpose, the excitement, the depth, the what it did for people who were there attending, and to try to help people become comfortable with the idea of Tantra, which many people don't really have a good idea about what it is.
Thank you.
But anyway, good questions, but the money came slowly, and it helped that I didn't make any money, so that was good. That was, you realize with a lot of great projects, the people that have the idea have to pretty much fund it, at least with their own time.
Thank you very much. We have another question.
Yeah, Doctor, before you came on, I had a question, but I would like to park it on you. So it was about, since you ended with Tantra, so it goes back to that, on the Hinduism side, you've got the esoteric sexual aspect of Tantra as a practice, and then in this documentary, we're talking about, you negated that this is not about sexuality, but it's about symbolism. I just want to understand how that Tantra and Buddhism, which comes from the lands of India and goes up into the plateau, its transformation and getting into symbolism.
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on the kind of the experience and the maturity of the practitioner. You see in so many different traditions, there are deity-like beings that are manifestations of that which we aspire to become, whether it's the Mother Mary or whether it's Kali or whoever it is. That having that persona, that being, inspiring you and giving you an object to aspire to become. Then it depends a little bit. I don't know if you would agree with this, but it depends on the practitioner how they look at it. Whether it's symbolic or whether there's something real, that's something in the sense of like a physical relationship of sex happening or not. So there are various opinions about whether it's that. And then if it's not the sexual, what we normally think about as sex, we're thinking about the capacity of each being to have both the male and the female elements within them to unite. And that they can do that, at least in part, with a partner, or they can be doing it on their own. So, but it'll vary. I can tell by your question, you have a lot of knowledge in this area. So it really will depend on the sect of Buddhism, the time, the teacher, what the students need and are ready to hear, how you approach it. And so in the film itself, you see people stating their ways of looking at it. They weren't looking at, how, like the Nandro Monastery in Dharamsala would look at it, of highly developed, monks and nuns, etc. But people, as Buddhism is coming into the Americas, how are people understanding it as it does? So it's not definitive in a scholarly way, for that reason. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if I can just add something, to the question is that in Tantrism we have like left-hand Tantra and right-hand Tantra. Right-hand Tantra is what was depicted in the film. It is when the union of compassion and wisdom. Prajna is always feminine. Compassion, karuna is always masculine. That's what our students sometimes do not understand, because with a Christian background, it looked like it would be different. But compassion is always masculine. Wisdom is always feminine. And the union, is symbolic. Like it's achieved by meditation, by visualization. This is right-hand Tantra. Left-hand Tantra, it's where this union is more explicit in terms of sexual union, right? And this is both in Hindu Tantrism and also in Buddhist Tantrism. But as I said, it's two different paths, and like Dr. Bastian said, it depends on the level of the practice and also the point of view and the individual kind of stance of the practitioner, right? There's no right or wrong. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think the reason that if you're really ready to study Tantra, this sect of Buddhism, they put a great deal of emphasis on your training, almost like, what's the Christian tradition where you have lots of intellectual training going on as a foundation. And so there would be a lot of training in terms of the philosophy, all aspects of Buddhism, and taking a test, and then you'd be finally ready for Tantra. And then you get everybody sort of at the same stage of their own evolution in understanding and practice. And then you gradually take them to these different ways of doing the Tantra. But we couldn't really do that in the film. It's just some of this is stuff you wouldn't put in the film because people wouldn't be really ready to look at it and understand it. You see what I mean?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. There is another question.
Yeah, you do allude to this in the film. How normally you arrive at initiation after a lot of preparation, but I also heard about Kalachakra in particular, that there's a lot, there's a lot in Kalachakra that integrates or integrates many elements from many traditions as a way to reach out to those traditions. And that way it was in some ways less esoteric, less secret than some other tantric practices. And I'm a bit curious because it was a big event to teach Kalachakra to non-Buddhists and to people who had not practiced through the preliminaries. And yet, there's this other view that Kalachakra is a bit more open than other tantras. What do you have to say about this?
Well, I think that it's unusual because there are three parts of Kalachakra. There's the inner, the outer, and then what they call the alternative, which is really the initiation rites and the beginning points, which is open to a general public. The other two, the inner and the outer, require more training, they require more testing before a teacher will actually teach it to you. So it kind of, at that point, it's leveled according to the capacity of the student, if they're ready for the esoteric or not. But the Kalachakra is unusual because there is a big, that the initiation part to get people into a place of being and the mind where they're then capable to go deeper. And so it's planned out that way, and it's unusual as a tantra that it does invite a lot of people into it to begin with. It's up to them to kind of find their way, into the deeper levels.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.